Hey there. I like to make lists. I have a lot of lists that track different things, and one of my lists recently achieved a sort of milestone, and it's the list of how many movies I've watched. Recently, I realized I've watched 1,000 movies. What an achievement. Wow, I know. So, I thought it'd be somewhat mildly amusing to myself to go over my list and just sort of reminisce. And I'm also curious because this is not a list I've looked at. Like pretty much just I watched a movie, updated to the list. I haven't looked through this. So I'm expecting some cringe I've probably forgotten about because I kind of remember my edgelord years in high school and early college. So that might be a little bit revealing of my personality. But here we go. So for a while here, there's no rhyme or reason to this list. It was just I was just adding stuff and I was just going off memory. So I'll be super brief because there's a lot of movies to get through. 1,000, in fact. So starting off with Arrival, I dig it. It reminds me of some of the classic sci-fi I've read. Just a nice, concise sci-fi story. You know, not everything needs to be a saga or a trilogy. Hacksaw Ridge, it was fine. It was inspirational, you know. A dude carried like hundreds of fellow soldiers over some mountain. Manchester by the Sea. I know some people that hate Casey Affleck. I remember I really liked the script of this movie. It was probably one of the better movies I've seen about grief, so I liked it. Logan. This movie made me cry big baby tears. Get Out. It's great. The John Wick movies. I like them. As we'll come across later, there's a whole load of action movies that I've been into, and it annoys the hell out of me when they just do quick montages and nothing's actually interacting with each other. It's just like a gunshot, cut to different shot, completely unrelated person gets hit. There's no contact between the people. I think that's stupid. I dig the John Wick movies. The chapter 3 will come up later. I like that, I just like that they do some wide shots and you can actually see what's going on. It's kind of unbelievable. That has to be novel for action movies. Unbreakable. I think it's pretty cool that M. Night Shyamalan just decided to go and make his own little cinematic superhero universe before it was even really a thing, for the most part. I know Split's going to be in this list later. I never saw the third one. I don't remember what it's called. Something about glass. Probably just called Glass. I don't know. The Hunt for Red October. There was a period of time, I think like a solid year or something, where I got obsessed with Tom Clancy stuff for some reason. Gran Torino. It's good. Man, this is weird. I haven't seen some of this stuff in so long. Role Models. This was a movie that really epitomizes my high school sense of humor. SLC Punk. This one's a favorite. Makes me feel good until the ending. I don't watch the ending because it makes me sad. The Raid. It's a movie that's really a video game. See, like, you know, Sifu. And The Raid 2. Not as good, but some cool action set pieces. Ooh, Children of Men. One of my favorites. Great concept, great action, great acting. Well executed. Really cool. Nightcrawler. Boy, a whole lot of Jake Gyllenhaal, or Gyllenhaal. I don't know or care how you say it. I got really obsessed with him for a while. He's particularly crazy in this movie. Yep. Apocalypse Now. I dig the Coppola. He's some good stuff. I like the Cinema Verite. Whiplash. I was real into this movie for a bit when it came out. I think I saw it like 3 or so times. The Hurt Locker. I got a weird relationship with this movie where I saw it like 2 or 3 times when it came out, and I don't even know why. It's not even that I was that into it. It was just like every friend's house I went over to, it was just like on TV. And then for years later, throughout college, I had dreams about scenes from this movie. And I didn't think this movie even had that much of an impact on me, but apparently it did deep in my subconscious. And so finally, I'm at a Goodwill. I see it on DVD or Blu-ray, and I finally buy it. And ever since I purchased it, the dreams stopped. So this is the only instance in my life where some sort of capitalist advertising just really just took root in my subconscious and finally gave me some peace once I purchased it. The SpongeBob movies, that's fun. I love SpongeBob. I think almost on a daily basis, some sort of quote or scene comes to my mind. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, they're banging. I love The Dark Knight. It's my favorite Batman iteration. Also, maybe superhero movie in general. Planet of the Apes, fantastic, classic sci-fi. It's great. Inception, come on, Hover Zoom. Inception, I was obsessed with this movie. It was defining to my personality for a bit. It probably began and or solidified my love for Christopher Nolan movies. Get Him to the Greek, another defining movie of my humor in high school. I loved this movie. I'd probably still like it. I've never gone back to it. The Prestige. I don't remember much of this movie. I think it was decent. I feel like it was long-winded, but it had a decent ending, I think. Something about doing a magic trick, and then it might have been real or not. I don't really know. Teleportation or some crap. Drive. Yeah, this is like a sick day movie for me, or at least it was for a while. I don't know why. It's incredibly violent, but the soundtrack is bliss, and it puts me to sleep in a good way. And then same director, Nicholas Winding Refn. Boy, probably butchered that name. I don't know how it's pronounced. This movie, The Neon Demon, this movie wasn't that great, and yet I still actually, I don't know, I liked it. Crazy stylistic. It just, I just liked entering a whole other world, alien to our own, or at least what I'm familiar with. District 9, Neil Blomkamp. It's a banger, solid contemporary sci-fi. I wish the rest of his output followed up. Yep. I'm sure Chappie's later in this list too. Not so great. Elysium was a cool concept. It was just, I don't know, it was kind of more boring than I was expecting. I really wanted to like it. I really wanted to. The Thing. It's my favorite horror movie. Big Hero 6. Okay, I'm not really going to chime in about Disney stuff. It's all solid. It's all fine. Hero. Oh, holy crap. I was obsessed with this movie. Man, I used to have a PSP, and this was like the only movie I had, and I would just obsessively rewatch it. One, because it's a solid movie, fantastic martial arts film, and also I was just obsessed with like having a movie play with me portably. This movie kicks ass. Man, I forgot about this movie. This is why I'm doing this list. Ex Machina, one of my favorite sci-fi movies. I included it in the thumbnail. When I made the thumbnail, literally, I just thought, gut reaction, don't put any thought into it. What are your favorite movies? And those 4 are just what came to me first. And so yeah, Ex Machina was one of them, and I've been following Alex Garland's movies since, and I dig them. I really liked Annihilation as well. I ended up reading some of those books too. Speaking of classic sci-fi and bangin' sci-fi, the Matrix trilogy. Love them. Mostly the first one. The second one has solid action. Third one, Animatrix, cool stuff. I like the idea of expanding on the world in an anthology. That's a cool idea. Hey, Jurassic Park. Boo, 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 boo. It's my favorite movie. For a while, I kind of thought maybe it was like 2001: A Space Odyssey, but then I realized that was just me trying to like sound cooler to my like cinema friends. It's really just Jurassic Park. That's my favorite. Yep. Seen all them. Jurassic World. Blah, 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 blah. The Jurassic World movies, I didn't like when they first came out. And now I've come around. I've watched, and as we'll get into later in this list, I've watched so many artsy fartsy movies that I now hate them. And I've actually made a curve where I'm now going back and now I just like movies as entertainment because I don't give a shit about artsy fartsy movies. Write an essay. Like, stop wasting the visual medium just waxing poetic about the most garbage crap. Planet Terror, Grindhouse movie, collaboration with Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. It's decent. It's a fun little romp. Nothing that'll stick with you, though. Kill Bill. Ooh, man, I haven't seen these in a while. I was obsessed with Tarantino in high school. I really don't like him as much anymore. Just going through them. Over time, Jackie Brown has become my favorite. It's what I wish he kind of leaned into more. It's just like solid characters. It's a slow burn. A lot of viewers get bored with it because it's not as actiony as the other ones, but it's just solid character work. And, yeah, it's cool stuff. It ends, spoilers, it ends in a shootout like every single one of his movies. It would have been kind of nice if he ended it in somewhat of a more different way. He's a bit one note in that way. Every ending is identical. Yep, let's skip. I gotta speed this up a little. Hell or High Water. Man, what a movie I was not expecting to be fantastic. Really cool. Oh, Female Prisoner, number 701, Scorpion. I watched it because it was an inspiration to Tarantino, and it was kind of cool. I don't remember too much of it. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I watched it because I feel like if you're into martial arts, you kind of have to at some point, but I don't remember much from it. I think I wasn't that into it. Slumdog Millionaire. It took me a long time to watch this, and then I finally did, and I went, oh, this is why people liked it. It's great. Ooh, what? I have no clue when I watched this. I don't know what this is either. Oh, there's going to be a lot of this. Event Horizon kicks ass. It still holds up. I saw this just a couple years ago, I think. Man, it's terrifying. Really intense psychological and body horror. Really cool fusion of sci-fi and horror. Green Room. I got into this director for a bit. Really just, yeah, I guess Blue Ruin is next. Just really bare bones, brutal stories. They pack a punch. Yeah, they're cool stuff. Lawrence of Arabia, a cinematic epic, 4 hours or something like that. It kind of took me a while to appreciate this one. I just watched it because I was just trying to check off my cinema checklist there for a while. But then over time, I began to actually like it and not just kind of like saying I did for, cinema points or reputation. Romeo and Juliet. Wow, I watched this in high school. That's insane. Shawshank Redemption, one of the best. You should see it. If you haven't, I swear every television I see when I'm on vacation somewhere, it's just on. And it's always like at the same part. Fearless. This movie's really cool. I forgot there was a whole period of time where I was just watching Jet Li movies. The Idiot. I think this is Akira Kurosawa, and it's like an adaptation of a Dostoevsky book, I think. Yeah, I was I was catching up on Akira Kurosawa movies and classic Japanese films. Yes, these are solid. I don't even have to. Oh, these are so solid. His filmography has been so inspirational to so much. I mean, right here, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, The Magnificent Seven. What's the other one he did that was inspirational to Star Wars? I don't know. All bangers. The Hidden Fortress. There we go. Inspirational to Star Wars. You're welcome, George Lucas. 8.5. Very dreamlike, very wild movie about making a movie. I don't really know this much of this director, but I think this was his last film, kind of his swan song. It's pretty wild. Speaking of inspirational, there's even a dance scene in it that inspired the Uma Thurman, John Travolta one in Pulp Fiction, which watching this I was not expecting. Citizen Kane, the greatest movie ever, so they say. Very well made. This movie, I think, is intellectually stimulating and interesting. Entertainment-wise, it's an absolute snooze. And, yeah. I mean, good on Orson Welles for, like, shooting it, directing it, acting in it, blah, 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 doing everything. That's rad. A documentary about Apocalypse Now. Ooh, the Godfather movies. Ooh, so good. I've read the books. They're very good, very entertaining as well. Godfather Part 1 and 2 are the GOATs. Not so much for 3. That's kind of goofy that they changed the movie poster for 3 and made it this like updated thing. I did not watch the updated edit. I don't think I'm gonna waste my time with that. I'm not particularly interested. Okay. Incredibles, Elf, blah blah blah. Napoleon Dynamite, super funny, still holds up. First like 3 times I saw it, I didn't get it. 4th time, it just made me dumber, and I loved it then. Ugly Dachshund. My family loves dachshunds. This movie's cute. It was fun. Yeah, I need to go faster through this. The Big Lebowski. It's fun. I don't know what's happening in it, and I like that. I want to keep it that way. Anchorman, the movie that defined every middle school boy's sense of humor. And then a sequel happened. Kingsman, a movie that was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I had to see it twice because the first time I was in a theater and there was a snowstorm and the power went out and I missed the last half hour or something like that. So I had to like wait until I could buy it on DVD or some crap. I mean, I guess I could have gone to a theater, but I wasn't going to do that. Oh, this is wild, seeing the kind of before the whole cinematic universe kicked off, the original Iron Man movies. I think I actually liked Iron Man 2 a little more than people did. Maybe I just thought Whiplash was a cool design and that's kind of it. Iron Man 3 was pretty solid. I liked that. Ooh, The Amazing Spider-Man. These were my favorite Spider-Man movies for a while, just because they, I don't know. I liked the Andrew Garfield version. I feel like he gets kind of this iteration gets crapped on a little. I recently rewatched the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and these hold up. They're fantastic. They're totally classics. Okay, well, not 3, but still, they're fun. Also, I lied earlier when I said I didn't comb through this list. I did look through the first 100, and I saw a little glitch where the first one was duplicated, and I tried to remove it, and it deleted both. It doesn't matter. The point is, the first Spider-Man is in here. It's just not going to pop up until the very end. You don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm just saying. Deadpool is funny. Oh my God, what is this video? Oh, this is so stupid. This is so many movies. Interstellar. This is one of those movies where I always want to rewatch. I've only seen it the once in theaters, and I always want to rewatch it. And then I think about how long it is and how long it takes for them to actually leave Earth, and I'm just like, nah, I can't do it. Gravity. I was so into this movie for a bit. I thought it was the coolest thing. Hard Candy. I vaguely remember this. Some sort of like revenge thing. Kind of freaky. Wow, the sequel to 2001. I read all the books from the Space Odyssey series and I liked them. This movie was fine. They, really didn't try to replicate what Kubrick was doing because, they couldn't really. But so it's more traditional, kind of by the books type of movie. But it was decent. It covered the material enough. I guess if you were into the books enough, it was just kind of nice to see another movie in the installment. Ooh, the Alien series. These are great. I saw the second one some years back for like the second or third time, and it made me so sweaty. It's so stressful and tense. Just the end of that movie, just crawling through the vents anticipating where the next alien's going to be, holding a clenching, Ripley clenching a flamethrower for dear life. It's tense. Alien versus Predator. It's not great, but it's fun. Predator. It took me multiple attempts to finish this movie. I think it's insanely boring. I think it's unbelievably boring. Come at me. I thought this movie was pretty cool. I liked the concept. They take a bunch of convicts or criminals or I don't know, some sort of shady people and just like bring them to a planet just for sport. That's a cool concept. Terminator movies. Pretty cool stuff. T2. I mean, some of these, it's like, what do I even say? It's like you have your own thoughts. Everyone through cultural osmosis, you've already formed an opinion on this stuff. Pitch Black is cool. Nice little standalone sci-fi movie. I had this recommended to me for so many years by so many friends because of how I'm into sci-fi, and it took me a long time to get around to it, but I'm glad I finally did. Oh yeah, I saw the Pitch Perfect movies. Man, I can't lie, I liked the first one a lot. I legitimately really liked this movie. The second one, truly no memory of it. Star Wars. There's really nothing I can say. Well, actually that's not true. Original trilogy used to be my favorite. And I guess maybe it still is for nostalgia. But upon rewatching the entire series in chronological order, I was actually really surprised at how much more I liked the prequels than when I saw them when I was younger and previously gave them credit for. They were, I mean, they're rough, they're rough, but there was a lot more there than I initially gave them credit for. I'm not into the later installments. Episode 7, 8, and 9. They just, they feel hollow. They're just, I don't know, it feels like a bunch of suits and like AI just kind of blended them and just like crapped out something kind of soulless. I liked Rogue One. I thought Rogue One was really solid. The Martian. I keep trying to read this book, or I had multiple attempts trying to read this book, but I don't like the format of reading like a bunch of journals. That said, I liked the movie. People kind of, I don't know, harped on it a little bit for some reason. I don't know why. It's decent. Pacific Rim, yay. Cool stuff, I love my kaiju stuff. You will definitely see that later in the list when we get to the entirety of the Godzilla franchise. Peter Jackson's King Kong. Really loved this movie in high school. Maybe I'll rewatch it at some point. I remember it's very long. I Am Legend. Okay, I kind of remember this. Sad ending, kind of zomboids in New York. Last Man, classic King Kong. Oh my God. Mad Max Fury Road was the first Mad Max movie I ever saw. It blew me away. And then I went back and rewatched the classic ones, and the classic ones are still so fun and so cool. I just love the structure of them, that they don't cohesively, they don't sequentially really follow each other. It's just Max is just a vehicle into this world, so they can just kind of keep continuously bringing him back and doing these different stories. Twister, written by Michael Crichton, huge success for him. I really liked this movie in, what was it, the 90s? I don't really remember anything of it. I think I remember the movie trailer where there's like a cow flying through the air. Letters from Iwo Jima. I watched this movie when I was like sifting through like some piggy bank I had as a kid, and there was like a crap ton of coins, and I just literally spent an entire summer day just sifting through coins and watching this movie. That doesn't provide any input for the movie, but that's what I got. Super 8, don't really remember it, but I remember kind of liking it. Kind of a cutesy little nod to Spielberg's, earlier career and interests and inspirations. The Goonies, don't remember it much. It kind of creeped me out. I'm not really as into this movie as a lot of people's nostalgia is. It kind of creeped me out. War of the Worlds. I liked this reboot a good bit. I know it's kind of style over substance, but the style's pretty freaking cool. I went through one of those Universal tours in California where you drove through the set where like the plane broke through the neighborhood, and I'm pretty sure they still have it up, and it's pretty cool. Oh God, it's so hard to breathe and talk constantly. Classic War of the Worlds. I thought it was boring, even as much as I've been into sci-fi. H.G. Wells and Philip K. Dick, two authors I just could never get into their material. I remember people loving this movie. Apparently I saw it. I don't remember it. Minority Report. Very cool sci-fi. Very cool. Argo. Really good. Really tense. Cool stuff. Based on true story. Blah, blah, blah. Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan. Schindler. Oh, wow. Okay. We're on the Spielberg area. Okay. Yeah. Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List. What I think about is in high school having a history assignment where you had to pick a movie about wartime, and everyone was clamoring to get Saving Private Ryan. And so it was taking up. And so the movies that were left, I ended up having Schindler's List. And I sort of cringed because my still developing brain was just not equipped to handle the gravity of this subject matter or this film. And I feel bad for the history teacher who had to read my paper. I'm sure it was such garbage. But that said, a couple months ago rewatched this movie, and it blew me away. It's so impressive, so fantastic. Jaws. Oh my God. I don't remember anything from Jaws 2, 3, or 4. What are these? I think one of them took place in an aquarium or something like that. Okay. Ooh, Halloween. I like this one. I like that it's I never saw any of the sequels, but I like that it's yeah, you don't need a whole lot. Just a little creeping sense of dread. Just that feeling you're being watched. It's really cool. Straight to the point. Just They Live. Oh, here we go. John Carpenter King time. Ooh. Oh, Carpenter movies are so fun and so good. Here we go. His Apocalypse trilogy. Oh, Sam Neill. Oh, gosh, these movies are so cool. Ooh, Four Rooms, kind of goofy. Anthology, 4 directors, each have their own different stories. Not great. Not great. Spy Kids. Wild. Good on you, Robert Rodriguez. Man, good on you, Robert Rodriguez. Just donating your blood to have enough money to make Desperado and or Mariachi, I mean. Good shit. Talladega Nights. Yep. Here we go. Really into Will Ferrell for a while. Step Brothers was my favorite. Still my favorite. I'll watch this movie any day. It's so stupid fun. Everybody wants some. I'm going to save my Richard Linklater thoughts for some of his later movies when they appear in the list, because this isn't one this in particular I don't really have any thoughts on. You know what? I'm just not going to give my thoughts on every freaking movie. I thought going into this movie or this video, I was just going to give my thoughts on every single little thing. There ain't no way. This was a favorite movie growing up. I don't know if it still holds up. It probably doesn't. Will Ferrell plays Jesus in it. Super Troopers, cult classic. I've heard so much about it. So many people have been into it. I finally watched it. Didn't really get the big deal. Wasn't that into it. Cyrus, I don't remember this at all. Just from the look of it, I'm going to guess it's a mumblecore film. Whoa, wait. Duplass. Yep, okay. Ooh, Fargo. It's great. The show's great too if you haven't watched it. I watched the 3 seasons of it. Very cool. Doesn't particularly relate to the movie. Just sort of carries over sort of like a similar themes and tone is all. No Country for Old Men. Super good. Javier Bardem is scary. Maybe at some point I'll read this book. I don't know. Probably not. Time is fleeting. and it feels like I have so much less of it every single day. Inside Llewyn Davis. I checked this movie out from a library, and it actually had one of those little digital code things. So I got to redeem it and keep it digitally because somehow no one used the code. I always use the codes every time I open a thing. I steal that. I scoop that stuff up because it's amazing to me that no one redeems that stuff. So I just hoard all these movies digitally. Do I watch them? Absolutely not, but I got them. THX. Early George Lucas movies. This movie's cool. Pretty stylistic, minimalistic, stark, monochromatic, or at least, minimalist, as I said. Wow. George Lucas again. I guess I was catching up on George Lucas stuff. Man, A Beautiful Mind. This is one of those movies you hear all the time in culture, and then I finally got around to watching it. And, again, it was fine. I don't know. People hype up stuff too much. People just go insane. Some people just act like some movies just like, I don't know, gave them $1 million and saved their life or something. It's like, come on, y'all. Media's not that great. Truman Show's fun. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is not fun. It's good. Series of Unfortunate Events. I wanted to like this more than I did because I loved this book series. It was probably the first book series I read as a child. Thankfully, the Netflix series kind of redeemed that and scratched that itch for a live action adaptation. Don't remember this. Guess I watched a lot of Jim Carrey there for a bit. Yep, still Jim Carrey. Kick-Ass. I liked this movie. It was pretty fun. I don't remember the sequel. Anomalisa. Oh, that's right. There was a whole Charlie Kaufman kick I was on. That's right. Adaptation, good stuff. I love Nicolas Cage. Many Nicolas Cage movies are going to come up in this list. I love him because whether he's flexing his acting chops, flexing his prowess, or he's just hamming it up, either one's entertaining to me. I'll take either. I'll take both. I don't care. Synecdoche, New York. This movie's super cool. I almost want to rewatch this sometime. I didn't fully understand what was going on, but it was melancholic. It made me feel things, and the concept I thought was so cool. I love just like impossible architecture stuff. Okay, big cultural stuff. Nothing to really input. Classics. You know it. You've got your thoughts on it. Blah, blah, blah. Memento. This movie was cool. This was definitely pretty influential to my young adult self going into college, trying to find my identity. Collateral. That's right. I was watching a lot of Tom Cruise movies there for a bit. Scarface. Same goes for Al Pacino. Watching a lot of his stuff. More Jake Gyllenhaal. American Beauty. Here we go. Her. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. I really love this movie. Melancholic. Curious about this movie going into it. I was like, I have to see it. I just have to understand how the hell a romance movie between a human and a robot is done. And the answer is effectively and kind of profoundly. That's how. The Revenant. I was so hyped for this movie when the trailers came out. I wanted to like it more than I did. It's beautiful, and that's kind of it. It doesn't really leave you with much else to chew on. It's just a nice spectacle. It was cool seeing it in theaters. I'm still glad I saw it. I don't regret it. Sicario. This is a pretty rad series. I wasn't expecting. Cool stuff. Drug trade, narco state, action thriller, blah, 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 blah. Blurring the lines of morality. Cabin in the Woods. Cool love letter to all things horror. Fun stuff. Easy A. I was really into Emma Stone when I was younger. I don't remember much from this at all. Probably was just okay. Mothman Prophecies. This movie freaked me out so much more than I thought it was going to. Actually kind of scarred me a little bit. Borat. I was really into Sacha Baron Cohen for a bit. Sucker Punch. I thought this movie was the coolest thing ever in high school. But looking back on it, it's a bit of a mess. Shrek movies, OG, classic, amazing, hilarious, meme gods. 2, probably still decent. 3, don't remember at all. I think Justin Timberlake's in it or some crap. The Man with the Iron Fists. I wanted to like this more. I thought it was going to be so cool, fairly interesting, kind of creative characters and weapon choices and whatnot, but pretty stale action. Austin Power movies, no clue if they still hold up or not. Norbit, yikes. Nutty Professor, no thoughts, no input. I don't know. Okay, cool. Finally, a good chunk I can skip. Disney movies, no input. Saw them when I was a kid. What do you want me to say? 12 Man Co. Ooh, Toy Story. Ooh, amazing. Still looks good. Toy Story 3. Made me cry. So sad. I love Lilo and Stitch. Oh, wow. What a hard cut from Disney movies to Monster. Oof. Big oof. Hey, Gareth Edwards. Cool, I got into him. No, I didn't get into him. I just was kind of identifying with him and liked his career trajectory and was kind of hoping I could do something similar. I didn't, and I'm totally not. But cool stuff. Yeah, his first movie. He's into special effects and whatnot. Stanley Kubrick. Yep, seen all of his movies. I like them all. I like them all for the most part. Trumbo. Not that exciting of a movie, but pretty cool story. Dalton Trumbo, still wrote scripts for blacklisted actors during McCarthyism and the Red Scare. Cool stuff. Spartacus, a Kubrick movie. It's not really a Kubrick movie. He just kind of came in late as a director, so it's not really made by him from the ground up. Lolita, no comment. Dr. Strangelove, hilarious. 2001: A Space Odyssey, my second favorite movie. First being Jurassic Park. Although I guess I do find this more intellectually stimulating. Like, my brain finds it fun to watch, but I don't really get excitement out of it. It's just sort of like, ooh, cool sci-fi, basically. Clockwork Orange. I recently read the book that this is based off of, and it was fantastic. Definitely became one of my favorite books. Barry Lyndon, very pretty. Martin Scorsese. I'm not much of a fan. Come at me. I liked The Departed. Wolf of Wall Street was fun. Chaotic fun. Titanic. Holy crap. I remember my mom having this on VHS, and it was like 2 or 3 VHS tapes. I would look at that thing. It took up so much real estate, and I was just like, what is in that thing? I'm so proud of you. Oh, Don Hertzfeldt. Ooh, I got so into him when I was a moody teenager. Ooh, real heavy, depressing stuff. Yeah, It's Such a Beautiful Day. Great animated movies about mental illness. Really rough stuff. Very well made. Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. Man, talk about movies that are just thrown into the dustbin of time. Holy crap. Studio Ghibli films. Every so often I think I'm gonna make a checklist and watch them all, and I never do. But yeah, they're good stuff. They're beautiful. Steins Gate. My favorite anime series. Not that I've particularly watched very much of it, but this was a film that concluded it. Shakespeare. Probably watched it for school. I, Robot. I do kind of want to rewatch this at some point. I got really into reading Asimov one summer, and I read the entire Foundation series. I mean, actually, I read the whole Foundation series and the extended world of it, like other series of his that also blended into it. Anyway, iRobot's like kind of a part of it, but not really. It's like just a random anthology of different things relating to robots. The movie absolutely doesn't cover what the book is. They just kind of took the premise and just went with a story. Ooh, oh my gosh. Michael Crichton stuff. Oh, I've read every single Michael Crichton book. And by extension, I attempted to watch all of the movies. I can't believe some of this stuff. Oh, this was cool. I took a really awesome cinema class called Fiction into Film, where we read a book and then watched adaptations of it. And so there was Jane Austen's Emma, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Third Man. Okay, I guess I kind of strayed from that class there. But yeah, I loved that course. Thanks, Slade. Hannibal Lecter. Read that whole book series. Not really worth it. Not worth the time. Silence of the Lambs is just the best one. Sometimes you just gotta go with the classics and what the best ones are, because sometimes a lot of stuff is just filler and people just trying to make a quick buck. Took a class on Alfred Hitchcock also in college, focused entirely on him, hence this huge string of Alfred Hitchcock movies. I think Rear Window is probably my favorite, unless I'm forgetting something else. American Psycho, that's a movie I would like to rewatch at some point. I remember it sticking with me. The ending kind of unsettled me. I don't entirely even remember how it ended. I think it just had sort of like a ominous non-ending almost, or like an abrupt thing or something. Psycho's awesome. I think it still holds up. I think it's still legitimately scary. The Birds freaks me out because I don't like disease and tiny claws. I don't remember Marnie. Edge of Tomorrow's cool. I was surprised by it. Definitely wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. Birdman I was really into when it was released. I think I watched it 2 or 3 times when it was released. The Grand Budapest Hotel, still I think only Wes Anderson movie I've seen, unless he also made Isle of Dogs. I am unable to differentiate Wes Anderson with Paul S. Anderson. Boyhood. I hated this movie, mostly because of the marketing behind it. I don't give a shit that it took 12 years to make. That doesn't matter. That is 100% an irrelevant fact. If the quality is not there, no other factor or facet matters at all. But I'm not a Linklater hater. Really just Boyhood. All the other movies of his I've really enjoyed. I like his slice of life movies. And voila, I love the Before trilogy. Absolutely love these. I think they're fantastic. Ooh, here we go. String of martial arts. Oh, here we go. Martial arts movies, kaiju movies. Okay, Harry Potter, read the books, seen the movies. Hunger Games, only seen the movies, not read the books. I liked Catching Fire. Didn't really like any of the others. Wow, this is so crazy. Marvel stuff before the cinematic universe. Fight Club, it's awesome. Southpaw. This movie was depressing. Jake Gyllenhaal plays a fighter. He really loves his wife. Tragedy ensues and he never gets over it. Not a fun one. Wow, lots of superhero stuff. Lots of X-Men. Lots of Jake Gyllenhaal. Enemy was cool. It was interesting. Cafe Society is I think I rented this from like Redbox. This is the first and only Woody Allen movie I've ever seen. Had I known he was like a scumlord and married his child that he adopted, I probably wouldn't have watched this. So yikes on me. Try to do research on scumbags in the future. Try to do better. Here's some movies I remember from a independent cinema class. That's cool. Cube was cool. Very scary. More independent cinema. David Lynch. I've never really been into David Lynch. I feel like I'm the odd one out. I actually prefer Eraserhead to, say, like a Mulholland Drive or Blue Velvet. If you're going to go all in on something and go crazy, go for it. Like I can roll with that. But I was just like, I couldn't differentiate these movies. I wasn't expecting, like, going into Lynchian stuff. I was expecting all this like surreal craziness. I wasn't expecting like police procedurals and then just like the tonal whiplash of the endings. No clue what was going on. I guess that's the point. Ugh. Old Boy. This movie has been influential to a lot. It's a head trip. It's uncomfortable. It's interesting, certainly. Martial arts stuff. Tony Jaa. I was really into him. Ong Bak for a while there. La Jetée. La Jetée is kind of had an effect on me, kind of like The Hurt Locker. It's one of those where I saw it, and then just going forward in the years throughout my life, I just, every once in a while, I have a dream where I just get like flashes from this movie, and I kind of am like, what did that come from again? And then I put it back together. I'm like, oh yeah, that short film about time travel. Under the Skin. This movie was very interesting. I liked it. I had learned after the fact that some of the shots used non-actors, and they weren't even aware they were being recorded. Just kind of like a run and gun, indie, sci-fi, kind of creepy, very interesting. Melancholia. I was really into this movie when I was seeking depressing, melancholic movies. Ooh, okay. Timecode and Russian Ark. I don't think I particularly liked these, but this was a period of time where I was really obsessed with long takes and just any sort of experimental filmmaking. Like, I think Timecode, there was like 4 sequences playing concurrently throughout the entire film, and then Russian Ark was a single long take. Was it 99 minutes in this like big mansion or something? Impressive, but I think it was pretty boring. I didn't think I saw The Seventh Seal. That's on my list to watch. I guess I saw it at some point. I need to rewatch it. John Malkovich is uncomfortable. Perks Wallflower, that's good stuff. This is Spinal Tap. I saw clips of this the other day, and it was still funny. Still holds up. Apparently getting a sequel. Superbad, I was very surprised still holds up. Saw this a couple years ago. I guess I'm in the raunchy comedy section. There Will Be Blood I avoided for a good amount of time, just because I thought it'd be another stuffy Oscar winner, just artsy fartsy, blah blah blah. But boy, it was something. Jacob's Ladder. I watched this because it was such an inspiration to the Silent Hill games, which is my favorite horror video game series. And boy, it definitely held up. Liminal spaces freak me out, and this movie's got them. Night of the Living Dead. I remember watching this with my mom on cable TV years ago. And back when I was younger and less literate with cinema, I had this really dumb attitude about old movies. I was like, oh, black and white movies, they're stupid and, can't possibly be scary. And then, fast forward to the scene where the mother's locked in a basement with her newly zombified daughter. And it was terrifying. Grave Encounters, it's not a particularly great movie, but it really resonated with me. It just, I kind of forget what. I just remember it really played it into some specific fears that I had. Begotten is a duplicate. Well, that's not good that I'm running into duplicates, because that means I'm not actually at 1,000 movies. And that negates the whole point of this video. But I don't care. No one cares. Begotten. Don't watch it. It's so weird and creepy. Clearly we're encroaching on my phase where I was seeking out gore and exploitation films. Yippee. David Cronenberg, I would like to watch more of his movies. I really enjoyed Videodrome and The Fly. I'm sure The Fly is going to pop up here somewhat. I saw The Devil. Man, Korean thrillers are just a whole different beast. Sherman's March. I referenced this movie recently in one of my album reviews. Check it out if you want to. Hee hee. Oh my gosh, sad documentaries. Holy crap. Ooh, lots of classic sci-fi from a sci-fi course I took as a cinema major. Oh, okay. Oh, that mechanical spider is the only good thing about that movie. I really want to rewatch that. I am always seeking cringe. The Exorcist. I feel like too many people glaze over the beginning of this movie and the horror that is just all those different medical procedures. Just there's something wrong with this young woman. No one can figure out what, and so they're just trying everything they possibly can. I mean, they're injecting stuff into her spine. There's like these weird exoskeleton things, and she's just staying in the hospital doing all these procedures. I'm terrified of needles and medical procedures. That is horrifying to me. I couldn't care less about the exorcism stuff at the end of the movie. That medical stuff is horrific. Dang it, there's another duplicate. Whatever. Well, that ends entering the 500s. Exciting. Westworld, made by Michael Crichton, not actually an adaptation of one of his books, just straight to movie. Pretty decent concept. I tried watching that HBO show and couldn't really get into it. Straw Dogs. Is this a duplicate or is... Okay, one's the original, one's the remake. Here we go. Yeah, I was really into revenge flicks there for a bit. Let the Right One In. That one stuck with me for a bit. Really solid horror movie that's not more of a get you in the feels than it is a outright horror thing. All right, some classics you got to see. Yay, there's The Fly. Wow, even the original one too. Oh my gosh. First Blood. I was so confused by this for the longest time because I thought every installment in the Rambo series was just called like Rambo 1, 2, 3, 4. I had no idea First Blood was like actually what it started with. Home Alone, bona fide favorite movie. Probably favorite Christmas movie. It's the best. I also still really like Home Alone 3. People probably checked out of the series at this point, and rightfully so. But I had this on VHS, and I would watch it when I was homesick. And I like that. Groundhog Day. Way more depressing than it is comedy. Requiem for a Dream. Very rough movie. Hits home at a couple places. I won't get more specific than that. Scooby-Doo. Matthew Lillard. Fun stuff. Oh my god. This movie's hilarious. Was not expecting to like it as much as I did. Alright, a lot of good movies here. Forgot about American Splendor. Remember having that in a college course. Misery. I'm not always a huge Stephen King fan. But, man, yeah, Misery was very good. World's Greatest Dad, good dark comedy. Robin Williams, 1 hour photo. Robin Williams, very creepy movie, but I still really liked it. Little Miss Sunshine, didn't like it as much as the hype. You know, supposedly a dark comedy. Didn't think, I don't know. I wasn't that into it. Yikes. Lars von Trier. Ugh. I didn't see these movies if I could. Wiener Dog. I thought I was going to like this movie a lot more than I did. Just a quirky little indie anthology. I think like each one had a wiener dog, or it was the same wiener dog. I don't know. Just ended up not really being that great or adding up to very much. Gone Girl, I had no clue what it was going to be like going into it. Was pretty into it. Ended up listening to an audiobook later. Pretty comparable. They're both solid experiences. Apocalyptico, you know, kind of yikes on the Mel Gibson. Cool movie. That one stuck with me in high school. That one was pretty left an imprint. Good sci-fi. Yeah, there's a lot of good movies here. You know, there's a lot of really good stuff here. Oh my gosh. I saw this movie. Yes, I saw this movie on my PS2. I had the game Destroy All Humans. And there was like some sort of thing in like the bonus features where this movie was on the disc, like on the bonus features. And I started playing it and I was like, oh, what a cute, funny little gag. And I just thought it was like a trailer, but then it just kept going and going and going. And then sure enough, like almost hour and a half later, it's just the entire feature film. And I'm just watching it. And it was hysterical. The aliens were giant lobsters. It was terrible. It was amazing. The Wicker Man. It's terrible. It's amazing. Avalanche sharks. Awful. So funny. Robot Wars. Here we go. I'm into my so bad it's excellent area. Neil Breen. Absolute master of the craft. Revenge movies, oof, oof, oof. Big oof. Primer. I didn't like this movie too much. I wanted to, because like I get the concept and then it was like a very, you know, little to no budget indie film. But I don't know. I wanted to like it more than I did. I didn't even think I saw this movie. That's insane. No memory whatsoever. Funny Games is creepy. I've seen the original and the remake. Pirates of the Caribbean, at some point I want to revisit those movies because there's that whole thing about like so many movies I saw when I was younger and just didn't have a concept. I mean, when I was a kid and I saw iRobot and Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, I had this really stupid notion that if a movie had a really complicated plot, that it must be a very good movie. It's just a very, you know, well-made movie meant for adults, and I was just too feeble-minded to comprehend it. So I would really enjoy revisiting those movies and discovering that they were just, in fact, just poorly made. Ernest Scared Stupid really scared me as a kid. I don't remember if there was a particular monster or what it was, but something definitely traumatized me. The Notebook, I was surprised by. I was a lot more engaged with this movie than I was expecting it to be. It just had so much hype around it and so much praise, and I was just like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. I was surprised. Actually very good. Clearly a Ryan Gosling kick there for a bit. Reign of Fire. I had a video game about this movie that I could never beat because it was crazy hard. Die Hard. Just rewatched this recently. Fun stuff. I'm not as obsessed with it as A lot of people are, but it's totally a fun movie. Definitely a fun series. I like this one when he jumps on a jet. Hellraiser. These definitely made me genuinely uncomfortable. So much just creepy sexual stuff I just didn't need to see imbued with gore. Devil's Rejects. I wanted to like this movie more than I did. Rob Zombie's just not the most consistent or coherent filmmaker. Friday the 13th movies. Man, I was bored to tears by these. I did not realize how many installments in the series you have to get to actually get to Jason and like any of the sort of like quintessential stuff about the series. A Nightmare on Elm Street I really enjoyed. That's some classic. I really love the 80s horror. All those classic series where they began are just so much fun. Bourne series, fun stuff. I think I liked it better on a second watch. What? I didn't even realize there was a 2016 version. I don't even know what that is. I have no clue what this is. No memory whatsoever. All right, just a little over halfway. Let's finish this list. New day, new haircut, same list. Let's wrap this up. Smoking Aces. I was really into this movie for a bit. I loved this when I was all about adrenaline junkie action movies in high school. Cool stuff. I think it still kind of holds up. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, that's fun. Lots of Johnny Depp, Nick Cage, thank you, thank you. Babe, what is it? Same director as Mad Max, fun little thing. Ooh, Deep Blue Sea scared the crap out of me as a kid. I remember renting that from Blockbuster, and yeah, really the only scene I can still remember is Samuel L. Jackson getting his arm bitten off. Wow, so much Nick Cage. That's awesome. I was in a weird minority where I actually liked part 2 of The Hangover more than part 1. But yeah, I don't know. Hey, here we go. The entire Godzilla franchise. If you haven't checked it out, I happen to have a video on my channel where I do a crash course of the entire Godzilla franchise. So check that out if you want. Or don't. There's plenty of content out there in the world. Yikes. The Birth of a Nation. Watch that for film school, I swear. Not for pleasure. Ooh. Man, Transformers was my favorite movie in high school. I was convinced I was going to grow up and be a Steven Spielberg or some crap. Mission Impossible movies. Somehow, I didn't see the third. Fallout's got to be on here somewhere later. That one's kind of an oddity to have a series where the, what is it, 6th installment is like the best one. So, ooh, Wild Hogs. Wow. Holy moly. I've never really been into James Bond. It doesn't do it for me. I don't know. I just think it's so boring. James Bond is so flat, one-dimensional, nothing interesting. It's the same reason I don't like Superman. It's like, it's not interesting to watch an infallible character. It's like, oh, cool, you're suave and indestructible. Yay? Not very relatable. Ooh, The Mummy. Classic. It's a banger. Lake Placid. That's another fun blockbuster find. Okay, clearly on some Schwarzenegger kick. Oh, the Saw movies. Okay. I mean, the first one's probably the best one because it's the most, it's actually like a crime thriller. It's not really, it doesn't pigeonhole itself by, being a caricature of itself. But man, the Saw movies leave a bad taste in my mouth. They're just, I can get into horror and get into gore, but it's just so, this is kind of rich coming for me, given all the dark, depressing films and media I consume and enjoy. But man, the Saw movies are just way too nihilistic for me. I just hate that the people tortured in it just like don't deserve it. It's like Jigsaw kidnaps people and it's like, you were depressed and tried to kill yourself. You didn't appreciate your life. Time to rip your, fingernails off. Okay. Lots of Jesus movies here. I took a course in college called Jesus at the Movies, and this is where we watched a lot of those movies. I also watched Children of Men in that course. That one was my favorite, as mentioned far earlier in the list. The Quick and the Dead. I did not realize Sam Raimi directed that. That's really cool. Avatar. Man, that was some flashy fast food. Man, I ate that, digested it, never thought of it again. Wow, here's a hyper specific one. There's a favorite metal band of mine called Car Bomb, and they made a little documentary on YouTube about the life of like a, small DIY band just doing small shows. And it was cool. It was, just an hour, nice little insightful look into the group. Love that band. Check them out. You'll hate them. Trip to the Moon. Classic cinema. 13 minutes. That's insane. All right. Yeah, some of these... I think these were also from an independent cinema course I took. We were kind of getting into exploitation films. Triumph of the Will. Took a German cinema course. Again, I swear, academia, not entertainment. Boy, Singing in the Rain proved me wrong. I avoided this movie for the longest time because I'm not into musicals. It's just, I don't need to rehash it. It's the same reason most people, or people that don't like musicals, the main reason being, it's just immersion breaking to suddenly break out in song when you're trying to act out a scene. But man, Singing in the Rain was very good. I was very impressed by it. Nikita was really cool. This inspired a short, 2-season show I was really into back in the day. Kong Skull Island. I was really impressed by that one. I wasn't even as much of a fan of kaiju stuff as I am. I don't really care that much about Kong. But this movie felt like a video game. It was just like... I don't want to say plotless, but it was really just kind of a string of just really over-the-top action scenes. And, I liked actually kind of how brutal the fisticuffs in it was. Man, so many of these movies I do not remember. I remember reading this book, Cormac McCarthy. Misery porn. It's depressing. This movie was decent. It was okay. Ooh, What We Do in the Shadows is fantastic. Hilarious. Taika Waititi. The show is amazing too on Hulu. Producers, very funny. Good old dark comedy. It's fun stuff. Kubo and his Two Strings, incredibly technically impressive. I think it either had a record or it still has the record for largest stop motion creature created. I don't know, some crap like that. There's a giant dragon that's gargantuan in it. I have enjoyed the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies each time I've seen them, but then I have yet to revisit any of them. So they must not really be standing the test of time for me because, the Sam Raimi ones I've they were defining to my childhood. And even The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, I mean, I've rewatched those at least 2 or 3 times. Tom Holland ones, still only seen each installment once, and I really don't feel the need to go back. To me, that's kind of a weakness of the whole cinematic universe, is that it's so interconnected with the larger universe that I feel like I can't even watch it as its own standalone thing. Like, I feel like I just have to rewatch every movie in sequential order, and that's silly. I thought Dunkirk was fantastic. Some people didn't. Boo-hoo on them. Ooh, I won't delve too deep, but I definitely gush about this movie in my Godzilla video. Hey, Diagnosis Delicious. I had an internship where I went out to Simi Valley, California one summer, and I was a part of this production. It was fun stuff. I think we found this movie in like a Goodwill or something and gave it to some friends as a joke. It's like a short, maybe hour documentary about just like avid Star Wars fans waiting in line for like weeks on end to see episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Was it worth it to them? Oh, I meant to watch the sequel to this movie and I never did. Oh, Train to Busan is so good. This movie's fantastic. It'll just rip your heart to shreds. It'll make you, every one of these characters, it'll make you fall in love with them, and then it will just brutally murder them. But that said, like I mentioned before with Korean thrillers, man, those movies are so sleek. So sleek and well edited. Disaster Artist. That was pretty fun. I kind of I really hyped it up in my head, and it wasn't quite as good as I wanted it to be. Mother. The symbolism in this movie is so blatant, and yet I still really enjoyed it just because I just found the chaos and the action of it very interesting. Kind of in the same way as like Children of Men. Just the good stuff. Ed Wood is hilarious. This movie's so good about the infamous director, B-movie director who made a lot of garbo. Man, The Graduate sucks. Why do people like this movie? This is just some pervy screenwriter just writing out his dirty thoughts, and just, this movie sucks. This movie sucks. The Graduate is repugnant trash. When I'm on my deathbed, my number one regret is going to be wasting the precious minutes of my life watching this movie. Dustin Hoffman is an old-ass man supposedly playing like some high school kid who just graduated. It's so stupid. I mean, it's just as implausible as Orson Welles' Touch of Evil when you got Charlton Heston playing a Mexican man, and they just like put some makeup on him to darken his skin a little. Hollywood is really stupid sometimes.
Ben says that he and Elaine are getting married.
I didn't even realize I watched a movie about this. I remember reading a book about this. I have a fascination with North Korea, and so I've watched many documentaries and read many books about it. I didn't even realize I watched a movie about this. But yeah, there's a book called A Kim Jong-il Production about this. Insane true story. The Un family is all obsessed with cinema, and they want to, assert their artistic dominance on the world, even though, they're inept and only allow propaganda films, which is pretty stifling for art. And so Kim Jong-il concocts this plan to kidnap a prolific South Korean actor and director who were at one point married, then divorced when they, reunited, and for 30 years were held captive and just forced to make movies and entered them into festivals to try to bolster creative credentials for North Korea. They did eventually escape, so yay. Shape of Water. Man, I had no idea what to expect going into this movie. Fish sex. Ugh, why? This movie was fine. I like, not everything has to be a huge thing. Just, nice little thriller. Oh, Blomkamp. Diminishing results with each output. Do better. The animated Godzilla movies. Wasn't that into them. Kind of wanted more. Kind of cool concept. Not that great execution. Boy, this was obnoxious. Screw method acting, honestly. This whole movie is just a case study in actors being assholes and just finding dumb excuses to get away with it. I mean, Jim Carrey seems pretty cool otherwise, but this whole stint of being Andy Kaufman was just obnoxious. Get a life, dude. It's a job. Calm down. Ooh, another Korean thriller. Really scary. Kind of zombies, but not really zombies. Kind of possession. Super scary. Super scary. Annihilation. Thank you, Alex Garland, for making rad stuff. Yeah, this movie is interesting and terrifying. Oh my goodness, I forgot I watched Berserk stuff. Tomb Raider kick, okay. Okay. The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Yorgos Lanthimos. I remember, I've been very intrigued by the output of this director. If I can recall the plot of this movie, it was like a young boy is slighted. There's this family who did him wrong, and so he puts a curse on them. And the things that happen are kind of darkly comedic because it's just so sort of absurd and specific, the parameters of the curse. It was intriguing, certainly. Baby Driver, fantastic editing, action sequences literally recorded and intended to be paced around specific songs. Good Time, the Safdie brothers. They make stressful movies. I know Uncut Gem's going to appear later. Uncut Gems was decent. It was incredibly stressful. I like Good Time a bit more. This was kind of around the time I was checking out Robert Pattinson and his acting chops and taking on darker material. Moonlight, really liked Moonlight. It's kind of like Boyhood, but doesn't suck. Wow, I saw this in theaters. Not worth it. Good old Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau. Okay, so it was Wes Anderson. Isle of Dogs. I really liked that. That was fun stuff. A Quiet Place. I was recommending just this to someone the other day. They remind me of like PG-13 The Last of Us. It's like thrillers that aren't gruesome or like really terrifying. They're just, tense and pretty fun. Also 90 minutes. Thank you. Holy crap. I'm so tired of movies being 3 to 4 hours now. I mean, it was one thing when you had like Ben-Hur and Lawrence of Arabia and these like sweeping epics, but it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go watch, Poo Poo Man in a 4-hour thing. Like, who cares? Ready Player One was, I don't know. It was pretty fun. I mean, man, what was it? Jay Bauman for Red Letter Media had such a great term for movies like this. I can't remember what it was, but it was just something about just like an IP mashup or something like that, where it just throws so many IPs at you and, classic characters, and it hopes you just kind of get lost in the fun of that and nothing else. I thought The Lobster was hilarious. I didn't know what to expect going into it, and it was so good. So freaking funny. So well done. Rosemary's Baby was kind of disappointing. Heard so much praise about it for so long, and I mean, a bit of existential dread about motherhood, but like, I don't know, the climactic scene of just people in a room screaming Satan isn't particularly horrifying for me. okay, there's Thunderdome. I don't know why that's a straggler hanging out over here. Oh yeah, Last Movie Star. What was that? The last movie with Burt Reynolds? Maybe it was kind of sweet. A little swan song, kind of meta. Drama, comedy, dramedy. DC movies are kind of making a comeback, but boy, they really slogged through the mud there for a while. Mortal Kombat, campy fun. Good stuff. I love it. I wanted to like this movie more than I did, considering how much I enjoy 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I had heard some critics and fans relate this movie to the sort of psychological equivalent or adjacent to 2001. Cool concept, bored me to tears. Same with the other Tarkovsky movies I've tried. Although I did kind of, through brute force, convince myself to kind of get into Stalker. Ooh, Hereditary. Brutally raw. I mean, just the horrors of family, am I right? Holy crap. Man, this movie, Jurassic World, put a sour taste in my mouth because I had such high expectations. Like, the first one's the best, and then it's just diminishing results from there on. And for some reason with Jurassic World, I thought, ooh, reboot or some crap, time to reinvent themselves. And then it wasn't, that great. I mean, now I've come around to think it's just, it's entertaining, whatever. It's fun. It's campy fun. But this one won me over because it was just so absurdly campy. I mean, the black market runway with dinosaurs. Thank you. Like, just embrace the garbage. Don't try to be more. Man, I didn't even want to see this. It was just back when MoviePass was a thing, and I had some time, and I went to see a free movie. And this was when I was all caught up on trying to keep up with the entire cinematic universe. I don't give a crap about universe stuff anymore. Just release a concise, quality thing and be done with it. But that's not the current model that's financially incentivizing to studios. So we're just going to keep getting trash. Social Network I avoided for the longest time because I don't care about Zuckerberg or Facebook, and I thought this movie would be a snooze. But I should have trusted the Finch. I should have trusted David Fincher because it was banging. Soundtrack by Trent Reznor. I've listened to that a couple times. It's good stuff. Not a movie, so it won't be on this list. But man, I got obsessed with Mindhunter. I really hope that gets greenlit for another season or so. Because I don't really like true crime stuff. That was like the first thing that really roped me in. Ooh, speaking of campy fun. Oh my God. Big Trouble in Little China is fantastic. 3 Billboards. I was also very impressed with this. Another kind of like There Will Be Blood, just one of those big Oscar movies. And I just thought, it's going to be stuffy and garbage. And no, it was pretty great. What is this movie? I have -1 memory of this movie. I have -0.5 memory of this movie. Chronicle meets Iron Man. Where's Chronicle on my list? I definitely saw Chronicle. I liked that movie. Unforgiven is a banger. I'm not the most acclimated with Westerns, but sometimes I know a good one when I see one. I saw this? I don't remember this. Ooh, 8th grade. I loved this movie. I'm a big Bo Burnham stan. He's the only comedian I've seen live. I definitely should see more. Yeah, I loved this movie. Hit me in the feels. I definitely related to it, being a generic white anxiety-ridden preteen at one point in my life. Kind of still today. Ooh, clearly got into Clint Eastwood kick there for a bit. I think I remember renting all those movies from the library and just binging stuff. I wanted to see this movie for the longest time, and I never got a hold of it. And then I was so excited when I finally got to see it, and I was so pleased that it was better than I was expecting. I was really worried going into it that all the emphasis and effort was just going to be on the visual spectacle of it, which is that it there's that saying, every frame a painting, and in this movie it was taken literally. And I was worried that so much emphasis and effort would be put onto that the story and acting would be lost. But nope, not the case. It was great. Black Klansman, very funny, poignant, and entertaining movie. Based on a real story. You know, watch it if you want to hear Adam Driver scream the N-word. If you like that. Ooh, Phantom Thread. What a bummer for Daniel Day-Lewis's last movie. It's not awful, but he definitely could have quit on a higher high. That's for sure. Ooh, man. I read the companion book that came along with this too, and just, man, watched this documentary, and there was a year there where I just crammed my brain of Vietnam knowledge, and American Animals, pretty sleek, fun little, you know, I can get into, I dig a heist movie every once in a while. I think loosely based on a true story. Silence, once again, not that big into Martin Scorsese. Super long, not for me. Swiss Army Man, better than I was expecting. Kind of like the, man, what was that movie? Yeah, kind of like Loving Vincent. I was worried the comedic gimmick was gonna kind of be one note and be kind of a one-trick pony. But, yeah, it had a lot more heart to it than I was expecting. Free Fire, great marketing, not so great movie. Everyone was duped by it. Florida Project. I found it incredibly annoying. I mean, I guess that's the point, you know. Watching real people. Where's Tangerine on my list, by the way? This movie reminds me of Tangerine. I definitely saw that, and I haven't seen that come up yet. I've for sure seen 1,000 movies. Panos Cosmatos. Awesome name. Visually interesting spectacle movies. Ooh, The Garden of Words, animated movie, short film. It's also a visual spectacle. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, visual spectacle. Great animation. Won some sort of award. Ooh, Bahubali. Probably the only Bollywood epic I've seen. It was a lot of fun. Lords of Chaos. I remember going to an indie theater with some friends and seeing this, and I'm not even that big of a fan of the black metal band it was based off of. I think it was Mayhem, I'm pretty sure, and Rory Culkin. But I just went, I was just excited to see just like a full-blown movie about just such a niche thing that doesn't get much coverage. Yeah, black metal's scary. Like, a lot of metal is just theatrics, but black metal, it's like life for them. Like, they don't mess around. Us, pretty cool. Still only seen it the once. Not as good as Get Out. I still haven't seen Nope. The Favorite was really good. I was really excited for this movie for a while. Wow, okay, there's John Wick. Oh, whoa, aliens. Okay, Prometheus. Wow, yeah, I remember just going on a tear, catching up on all the Alien movies. The original Purge was better than I was expecting. Kind of like the Saw series. It's like, first one's decent, and then it just kind of gets worse from there. Not garbage, but just, I don't know. The first one actually kind of had some commentary that I wasn't expecting. Midsummer. This one's a favorite. It's not a perfect movie, but I just can't help but love it. Just my first exposure seeing Florence Pugh. I love her acting. Love the character itself, and just the just watching the slow metastasization of just being absorbed into a cult. Just super scary. Darkest Hour, I wasn't really interested in it. I just kind of watched it just because it was, this might have been the year where I was trying to watch every Oscar nominee back when I actually cared about the Oscars. That's long gone. I never actually did it. I've never had a year where I watched every Oscar nominee. I think the closest I got, there was a year where I only missed 2. I don't remember the year. I remember there was like Imitation Game. The 2 I missed was like Theory of Everything about Stephen Hawking. And I don't remember what the other one was. That's the closest I ever came. Man, Princess Mononoke. Holy crap. I mentioned Studio Ghibli earlier. I slept on this movie for the longest time. And man, when I got around to it, holy moly, people love this movie for a reason. Pan's Labyrinth. Boy, not what I was expecting. Somehow I managed to go all these years without this movie being spoiled or anything, and no clue. No clue. It was no clue about the setting of the film. I truly thought the entire thing was just a fantasy film. Booksmart's pretty fun. People kind of just refer to it as like a female Superbad, but I think it stands on its own legs. I think it's got enough of its own identity going on. El Camino. I love the Breaking Bad show. I still need to finish Better Call Saul. Fantastic stuff. Burn After Reading isn't great, but I couldn't help but enjoy it. It's just so star-studded cast, and it's just so absurd. Dolomite Is My Name is fantastic. So much fun. I really enjoyed that it was a comedy that just didn't have like shoehorned tragedy in it. It was truly just fun the entire way through. Suspiria. Oh yeah, so I still haven't seen the original. I saw the remake. I don't know if enjoyed is the right word, but I don't know. I got something out of it. Twilight. I've learned to love this series. It's so fun. It's so fun. I love cringe. It's so good. It supplies so much, just the right amount. The Irishman. I will not. It was fine. I didn't hate this movie as much as some people did. I didn't love this movie as much as some people did. Weirdly, I think it was the kind of first Scorsese movie I actually did kind of like, which is kind of odd, I guess, considering his other movies are more beloved. I skipped past it earlier. I did like Raging Bull. So there's that, you know. I'm not 100% cynical. Crazy Rich Asians was better than I was expecting it to be. It was very fun. Polar Express, that's got those good memes from it, those Uncanny Valley animation faces. I did not enjoy Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Man, there's so many Tarantino stans out there. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I skipped over some of them earlier. So he's been doing this revisionist history thing for a bit. You know, Inglourious Bastards. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fun. You know, killing Nazis. Who can disagree with that? Django Unchained. It's like, okay, you're getting a little more, you know, you're kind of narrowing the field of view there a little bit more, getting a little more toasty there. And then now with this movie, I mean, now it's just zeroed in to a specific person, a specific family. And I don't feel this way often because I don't think I'm that like high and mighty or anything. But I thought this movie was so distasteful. I mean, just, I don't know. Just why even just bring up this whole situation and just tout it about and profit off of it? I don't know. It's just sleazy to me. And, you know, like AC/DC ending every same song the exact same way, Tarantino doesn't know how to finish a movie in any other way at all. Marriage Story. It's brutal and has intense acting. And Yeah, marriage can be scary too. Joker, I did not like this as much as most people did. I wanted to. I don't know. I wanted to like it more than I did. I kind of tried to force it for a little bit there, and it just didn't stick. Lolita Battle Angel's very cool. I think I had heard this might get a sequel at some point. Made by Robert Rodriguez, based off a graphic novel that I hadn't heard about before seeing this. It actually kind of feels almost like a Guillermo del Toro film. I wonder if he was involved at all. Parasite. Oh my gosh. I loved this movie. I mean, once again, this has happened 3 times now. And, avoided it for a little bit because it was an Oscar winner. Just assumed it would be annoying trash. And I'm so glad to be proven wrong. I love this movie. I've still only seen it the once, but I still vividly remember it. There aren't too many movies that after years leave too much of an imprint on me. Clearly, as I've been looking through this list, and most of it's hot garbage and forgettable, but this movie's going to stick with me. This definitely etched into my psyche. Death of Stalin, a friend recommended this to me. Very entertaining. Dark comedy. It was recommended, back when I was really on a history kick, catching up on a lot of stuff. And the wild thing about it was, it wasn't even, they didn't really even have to embellish that much. I mean, the Stalin years were pretty absurd. And yeah, it's just about, follows the tale of 4 men just vying to get in his good graces and fill a vacuum of power. Super funny. Okay, yeah, see, gotten some true crime stuff there for a bit. Powerful stuff. Man, this was my first introduction to this entire story. I'd never even heard of this before. So wild and awful what Lorena Bobbitt went through, and just the way that the media and people just made it into this absurd shit show, as they tend to do, because nothing is sacred. Uncut Gems, Safdie Brothers, like I mentioned earlier, preferred Good Time. Uncut Gems was good. I wish Adam Sandler would not do the thing where he does 10 trillion shit garbage movies and then one movie where he just kind of flexes his chops. It'd be nice if he kind of flexed his chops more often, but hey, who am I to say? He can make whatever garbage he wants if it makes him millions. Velvet Buzzsaw. I was hoping for more. I was hoping for a little more in that, Jake Gyllenhaal kick, and about like paintings that were murdering people, like the paintings were made from like blood or something. Yeah, I don't know. The marketing made it seem like it was going to be a whole lot more than it was. Knives Out was great, very fun. Yeah, I think it was around this time I had read Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None for the first time. So I was in this very quick little thriller kick. Yeah, that was good stuff. Gladiator. This is one of those just heard about in the cultural pantheon for so many years, and then I finally got around to watching it. It's really wild seeing a movie that's been revered or just is so popular for so long in culture. And it's so weird. Such a strange, bizarre sensation seeing it after such a long time and suddenly understanding where so many like memes and references and images and motifs came from. Okay, so yeah, I mentioned Tarkovsky earlier. I do like Stalker. Towards the end, I loved the premise and the beginning journey of entering this forbidden zone. But, as with most artsy-fartsy movies, I wish it didn't end with just 3 dudes, crouched, sitting on the ground, just waxing poetic about philosophy. It's like, okay, we've been looking at this for 30 minutes now. It's like, I think you could utilize the visual medium a little more. I think you could just, how about you just write an essay next time? I went through a bit watching the Scream movies. They're fun, but, I don't know. Oh, yeah, Wes Craven. That's another horror director I haven't delved into much, and I don't think I'm probably going to at some point. This movie was fun. It was funny. It was better than I was expecting it to be. This movie wasn't great. This movie was super fun. Maybe he's not for everyone, or maybe he is, and that's why he's so successful right now. But Taika Waititi's style of humor really gels with me. I love absurdity that's played straight. Oh, here we go. Lots of documentaries. I definitely went on a Ken Burns kick there for a bit. This movie was fun. I liked it. It felt comforting to me. It was like Groundhog Day, but not miserably bleak. Eric Andre. I dig Eric Andre. Decent movie. Hey, there's Bo Burnham. Like I said, into him. I don't even remember what my thoughts on this are. No, I do. Christopher Nolan wanted to make a James Bond movie or like some sort of spy thriller. Impressive. Well made. Cheesy and one-dimensional, though. Not great characters or plot. Kind of convoluted just for the sake of seeming more complex than it is. Hey, I usually haven't remarked on the Disney movies. WALL-E was too damn cute. Such a fun movie. That was another one of those I just assumed I'd never get around to watching. But finally did. Man, this movie was a wild ride. Man, talk about tonal whiplash. This thing is all over the place. Dune, this is one of those rare instances where I actually happened to read the book in time for an adaptation. Yeah, I really enjoyed the book series. I read 4 of the books, maybe 5 of them, of the main series at least, not the extended lore by Frank Herbert's son, Brian Herbert. Yeah, I really liked this movie. Pretty faithful to the book, played it serious. I don't think I had any qualms with it. It ends in kind of a weird place, but I mean, down the line, once they have more parts and you just kind of, this becomes like a Lord of the Rings thing where you just kind of watch it sequentially, that won't really matter quite as much. Vampire's Kiss. Oh, it took me way too long to see this movie. Beautiful. Man, just, early, legitimately insane Nick Cage. There's one scene that's a bit distasteful at the end, though, where he's kind of like messing with a woman and sort of like implying he's going to assault her. I can't remember if he actually does or not. I don't think he does, but I don't know. It was skeevy and kind of weird. But other than that, the movie was pretty fun. The Lighthouse. Ooh, I've not liked any movie by Robert Edgers. Man, artsy, fartsy crap. Okay, I need to come up with a term for a film, and this is going to come up later with one of the more recent movies I watched, where it's a simple plot, and then the last 20 to 30 minutes of it is entirely symbolism, but the symbolism isn't hard to figure out. And so it's like, okay, it's fine. Some thought was put into it, but ultimately I leave the movie just going, why? Like, why was it made? Why bother? What are you saying about the world or anything? Why? Like, cool. Congrats, I guess. Raising Arizona was very great. Super funny and sweet. Promising Young Woman was good. A contemporary revenge story against fuckboys. Oh, I wanted the Dynasty Warriors movie to be a lot more. I've been such a fan of the video game series for years and years. I think since the 4th installment. They're such poor quality. They're absolute trash, but they're so comforting. So many years of my young life spent playing these games, and I mean, I don't know. I guess if they made a cinematic universe out of this, maybe I'd check it out, because they could, because there's a lot to delve into. There's a, huge ensemble cast and plenty of events they could cover. But let's just say, Jojo Rabbit was very good. I was expecting it to be more of a comedy than it was. I kind of wish it was more of a comedy, but I can't knock it. Very well made. Hey, Space Cop, Red Letter Media, some of the greatest filmmakers of our generation. Thank you. Jackass movies. I'm surprised the others weren't on the list. I totally saw these. They, every installment, I think I'm too mature for them and I've grown out of them. And then I watch them and I'm like, nah, I still enjoy this. This is still so stupid fun. Appropriate Behavior. This, I saw this on TV, the first and only time I've had COVID while on vacation. And, it was very good. I caught the tail end of it and I was like, what's going on here? And then it thankfully was playing on loop and, got to see it again. Very entertaining. I really dig dry humor. And so I respect that about this film. It took me a while actually to see No Way Home. I didn't see it in theaters. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sounding so glib and blasé through this whole thing. It's just partially I'm just very cynical about movies. I've kind of moved on and I'm way more into books, video games, and music for storytelling. I feel like I haven't really been excited about a movie in so many years. I mean, honestly, I think Inception might have been the last time I was like excited to go to the theaters and see something. It's probably some context I should have given earlier on. I don't know. Also, my camera keeps crapping out on me, and so I have to keep recording this in small chunks, and so it's kind of making me annoyed. So that's another reason why I've been like pretty crappy on some of these movies. I mean, I do legitimately have that take. I mean, I've seen a lot of great films. There's a lot of art out there. I'm not knocking the entire medium. But yeah, a lot of stuff is garbage and really not worth seeing. Anyway, No Way Home, it was fun. I liked it. I mean, it was just fan service. It was just, let's just bring all the Spideys together and the villains. And it was fun seeing them all on screen. They knew what they were doing. The Batman, I wanted to like this more because I like you, Robert Pattinson. I mean, it wasn't bad, certainly. It by no means was it bad. It was just the hype around it was to an unattainable level. It was to astronomical levels, and I bought into it, and there was just no way it could achieve that. I liked Nightmare Alley. I also was not familiar with the source material, the novel it was adapted from. So I went into this film literally thinking it was like wholly original. So I was really impressed by it. But then afterwards I was reading articles and there were people who were upset that it wasn't that great of an adaptation. Perhaps that's the case, but in my hyper specific point of view, having only just seen it as the movie, I liked it. I thought it was well done. Great acting by, Bradley Cooper and company. Toni Collette, she kicks ass. The Matrix Resurrections. I'll definitely never rewatch this. I don't hate it as much as a lot of people did. I don't know. I guess I just don't really mind movies that kind of deconstruct themselves and get a little meta and poke fun at the audience. I guess because I don't really feel that entrenched in any particular franchise or series that I take it to heart. The Meg was fun. It actually was very fun. Actually, it was a hell of a ride. It was super fun. I really enjoyed it, actually. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't have to gush about it. Everyone's already gushed about it. It's fantastic. It's worth it. It's a wild ride. Creative, original, heartwarming, life affirming, well edited, well executed, well acted. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. Thank you, A24, for actually making worthwhile movies. Peninsula. So this is a follow-up to Train to Busan, and I had such a tough time getting a hold of this and watching this, mostly because I kept looking up Train to Busan 2, and that's not what it was called. It was just called Peninsula. And it's almost like Alien to Aliens. Alien being horror, Train to Busan horror, and then the sequel being a lot more action-focused. So not really what I was there for, but it was entertaining. It's a fun watch if you're pretty, like, die-hard into it. Pig. This is a beautiful movie. I just love the delivery and how all the conflicts are just dealt with through just conversation, communication, and it just really hits hard about life, grief, aspirations, social status, social perception. Hits hard. Really great movie. Prey. I really enjoyed this. Had a lot of fun with this. Hey, 10 Cloverfield Lane. That's a movie I've totally seen that didn't appear on this list. I really liked that movie. I wish that movie... I'm talking about it now because I don't think it appeared in my list. I think it's goofy that they tried to shoehorn it into Cloverfield just to try to make it more palatable and acceptable. But I don't think anyone really cared. I mean, just trust audiences for once. But yeah, now Prey. Yeah, really cool. Maybe they'll do some more stuff with this. Yeah, cool lead character. Savvy, crafty. People complained that she was like a Mary Sue, but I didn't feel that way. I feel like she was pretty grounded and her skills were earned and justified. The Green Knight, solid movie. Wasn't expecting it, didn't really know what to expect. Kind of a cool subversion of the hero's journey where the main character's actually a bit of a loser. But yeah, really well done. Interesting. I think it's getting a sequel. I'll totally check that out. The Butterfly Effect. Wow. This is one of those movies I was going to get around to some point in my life. If I had seen it when I was younger, it for sure would have had an impact on me. It definitely would have shook me. It definitely would have traumatized me. But now watching it, it was hysterical. Oh my God. It gave me so much cringe. It was so good. It was so good. Ready or Not, great thriller. Very fun, straight to the point. Young couple gets married. Family she's getting married into, has this really crazy game where they're hunting her and trying to kill her. And yeah, good dark comedy. Really nice, really great at towing the line of knowing when to pull back and knowing when to punch in with the comedy. I feel like now in like the end here, I'm trying to like give legitimate input to some of these movies because I really disregarded a whole lot there for a couple hundred. Ad Astra, a friend recommended this to me. I'm so sorry. I was bored to tears by it. So sorry. So sorry. Not everything can be a winner. So yeah, Quiet Place, I basically said that earlier. Shazam, a snooze. I really wanted to like it. I thought it was going to be so funny. Too juvenile, which, hey, yeah, the lead's a kid. But, hey, what can I say? I don't like kid actors. Come and See. Man, finally got around to seeing this classic, and it is brutal. Wow. Still really holds up. Still feels... I don't know if modern or fresh are the right words, but not even relevant either. It just the way it's documented, just the way it's recorded, just feels so on the ground there with it. It's really brutal. Here we go. We're towards the end here. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Nicolas Cage. Basically, the No Way Home of Nicolas Cage, or the last action star for Burt Reynolds. It's so much funnier than I thought it was going to be. And I already thought it was going to be very entertaining. Obviously, if you're a Nicolas Cage fan, you're going to get so much more out of it. Fun little romp. So much fun. Reminded me movies could be fun and funny. Like I said, not into Robert Edgers. Oh yeah, I've seen The Witch, but that didn't come up on this list. I mean, some cool action, but also like a fart scene and just, I don't know, man. I don't like this guy's movies at all. Man, okay. So just like I was describing with Robert Edgers, I dig Alex Garland. I love Ex Machina. I love Annihilation. I dig the premise about a horror film or thriller based around gaslighting. It's such a cool concept, and I get the symbolism of, like, you know, each of the men share the same face, and so, you know, the trauma follows you and you can't help but see it in others. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't need the body horror at the end. It's like I got the symbolism, and, you know, I got what the movie was saying, and then I just kind of left it going like, okay, like, sure, I guess. Like, I don't get why that needed to be made. Retaliation. So, saw this recently. Orlando Bloom he works in construction, or I guess like deconstruction, I should say, of buildings, and he has trauma from when he was sexually abused by a priest when he was younger. And the subject matter is very intense, and it's dealt with the appropriate amount of gravity with the acting. Truly, I just wish the visuals were better for this film. Every single shot is just the standard. Someone's talking, the camera's on them, they're in focus, and that's it. Truly, every single shot in the movie was just that. So sure, it made it feel very grounded. It made it feel very raw. Come on, put stuff in the background, put stuff in the foreground, have some fun with it. If the visuals were better, I would have loved this movie, but the visuals were so flat. Recently watched the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. I was hoping for more cringe. I was expecting it to be more like Twilight, given that's what it's based off of, and it unfortunately wasn't. Originally, I thought Hocus Pocus 2 was my 1000th movie, and for a while I put some thought into what my thousandth movie should be, and I was like, well, I probably should do something artsy-fartsy. But then I got lazy and stopped watching movies for a bit, and Hocus Pocus was turned on, and I went, well, here it is. But then I did my math wrong, and it was actually Jurassic World Dominion, which probably is pretty fitting, I guess, if Jurassic Park's my favorite movie and then Dominion's the 1000th one I've seen. Disregard that. I mentioned that earlier. It was a duplicate. There was a lot of duplicates in my list, and I am not rectifying that. Hocus Pocus 2, first one's better. It's not even a great movie, but everyone has nostalgic rose-tinted lenses, whatever the hell that saying is. And then this movie, I mean, it could have been good if it would just sort of had the confidence to be its own thing, but it just kept winking at the camera and just kind of like, you know, the characters would have their little quirks, and it's like, hey, remember this from the first one? You liked this, right? Here it is again. And that was pretty much the whole movie, was just sort of, you know, playing up people's love for the first one and just wanting to remind you of it instead of just being its own standalone thing. So yeah, 1000th movie, Jurassic World Dominion. I went into it pretty cynical. I liked it. I had a fun time with it. So we watched the extended version on Tubi. I think it was 2 hours and 40 minutes. And it was actually pretty brisk somehow. I was actually surprised at the pacing, and it was more competent than I was expecting. I mean, sure, there were some, you know, sure, you could say there were some superfluous action scenes, but, you know, what's a summer blockbuster without a little bloat? But I liked all the action scenes, and as fan servicey as it was, of course I like to see Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum again. So yippee, 1000 movies, hee hee, yay for me. Hope you enjoyed this. I tried to get a second wind here at the end and kind of more legitimately critique and check out some of these movies. My camera has been giving me a lot of trouble throughout this video, where after 15 minutes, it'll just die on me and it won't give any sort of notification sound. So a lot of these segments I've had to redo multiple times. And so that frustration kind of leaked out in my sort of criticisms towards the movies. I mean, a lot of it's founded. I think I still pretty much stand by everything. I just probably would have stated it in a more tactful way. I think I need to watch more foreign films. I think I'm just really tired of American films. I need to see some new perspectives and forms of storytelling. I think things have gotten pretty dry around here. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this. We